In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Good evening, friends, and welcome to the 32nd episode of Crime and Punishment, a legal podcast, the official podcast of the Invictus Law Firm, PA, a criminal defense law firm in Orlando, Florida, the website for which is augustusinvictus.com, and that is me, yours truly, your host, and I am here tonight with my co-host, Tiger Jin. We are here to talk at you about the Arbery trial and the selection of the prosecutor therein. We are here to talk at you about Chauvin having pled guilty to federal charges. We're here to talk with you about citizens' arrest and the natural law. And we're here to interact with you in the chat because that's what good talk show hosts do. Tiger, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can also hear you.
All right. Do we have a chat yet to determine whether they can hear me?
We do have a chat, but all right. So here is an ongoing problem. Coach Alpha Elite says start an hour earlier, boss, because as Coach Alpha Elite told us in the last episode, everyone is in this same time slot.
All those YouTubers. Don't pay attention to them. Pay attention to us.
Yeah, well, what we're going to do is we are going to change this show to Fridays in the afternoon. If you can't catch it, that's okay. But at the very least, we will have consistency again.
Yes.
Do it every week religiously like we used to is just nighttime. You just can't do it. You can't be a father and a podcaster at the same time. And I've found that you also, there's an inherent conflict between being an attorney and being an athlete. Because I tell you, I forgot to eat again today. I just, you get so busy at work.
Fasting. It's intermittent
that's
fasting.
how I keep justifying it, but that's, it does not help with gaining weight, I'll tell you that. All right. They say we are coming in loud and clear. Thank you, EcoFash Matt. Oh boy. So, can't be a father and a podcaster at the same time. You can't be a lawyer and an athlete at the same time.
You know, about the
Madeline is here.
Thing,
yeah.
For the longest time, I used to believe that it was impossible to do that. Because I cannot forget to eat. It wasn't until my wife, she always forgets to eat. Like, she's like Sherlock Holmes, where she'll be doing some math problem or something for hours on end.
Right.
She'll forget to eat. And I'm just like, how's that possible? I don't understand it, but...
Now that you're an attorney, I'll bet you understand it.
Oh, no. I'll get hungry, even in court or whatever. I'll be... I should head back to the vending machine. When can I do that? Like, I don't forget to eat.
Don't worry. It'll happen. It happens to everyone. I'll tell you what, the only place I posted that this show was going live was on Instagram. As Madeline's appearance reminds me. Turn Tiger's volume up. Thank you, Coach Alpha Elite, because Tiger forgot to tell me. There we go. Man, we need someone to do this show like a professional audio person, broadcaster. All right, so without any further ado, let's get into these news stories, shall we?
Yeah, we should.
Let's talk about the Chauvin saga to begin with.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at.
Yes.
This is the Chauvin podcast. If he sneezes, we're going to tell you about it. If he writes a book from prison, we're going to tell you about it.
I actually would read that.
Yes.
Yes, we would read that on air. Yeah, because in our early episodes, we read Jerry Spence's book.
Yep.
That was phenomenal. The police state. We should do that again.
Maybe we should.
You know what? If we run out of material for this show, I'm gonna pull up the PDF of that book while we're talking.
I mean, we might. I just keep getting so out of the loop with the news. I mean, I don't know what's going on anymore. This thing, it just popped up like an hour ago. You know, I opened up YouTube and there were videos talking about it. And I'm like, oh, Okay, thanks for telling me an hour before the show goes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So, this is titled Chauvin Pleads Guilty to Federal Charges in Floyd's Death. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin has pleaded guilty to federal charges of violating George Floyd's civil rights. Chauvin's plea Wednesday means he will not face a federal trial in January, though he could end up spending more years behind bars when a judge sentences him at a later date. What does he have now? What is his sentence presently?
So, sentencing will not have... for
the state charges. Yeah.
State.
What is
that
he presently...
Is a good question. We should know. I know he's got a lot.
Well, he's not our client, so...
They found him on the aggravated charges, like all of them. And so, I'm doing it live if my computer will cooperate.
Bill O'Reilly style.
Yes.
We'll do it live. All right, so while we're looking up what his present sentence is, actually, somebody in the chat probably told us already. No,
22.5 years for the murder of George Floyd.
So, all right, the article says this federal plea could add years to the sentence he's already serving. It's difficult for me to believe that a violation of civil rights would get this man more than 22.5 years.
Oh, I mean, you'd think, but the actual guilty plea deal, it was detailing that there was a possibility of life.
Okay, so let's keep reading this story then.
Because what it is, it's not only George Floyd. They went and dug up another instance where he pinned down a 250-pound 14-year-old, and that was a violation of that kid's civil rights.
But did he die?
Stuff. No.
Yeah,
no.
There you go. All right, Chauvin, who is white, was convicted this spring.
Wait, is he?
I guess he looks kind of white, right? I don't know. I'm not racist, like the media. LOL. Chauvin, who is white, was convicted this spring of state murder and manslaughter charges. That alone, that's just incredible. You can be charged with, you could be convicted of both at the same time. Murder and manslaughter charges for pinning his knee against Floyd's neck during a May 25th, 2020 arrest as the black man said he couldn't breathe. Who wrote this? Where are your periods? Where are your commas? Who? All right. Amy Forliti.
From the Associated Press.
This is an AP article, and they're not using punctuation. What has this country become? My God. Anyway, so he's white. The guy was black. He put his knee in his neck. All right.
This is important.
So the federal charges included 2 counts alleging that Chauvin deprived Floyd of his rights by kneeling on his neck as he was handcuffed and not resisting, and then failing to provide medical care. This is probably the worst writing I've ever seen in a news article in my life.
That is a 1-sentence paragraph right there.
That entire paragraph, yeah, it's a run-on sentence.
It reminds me of the way I used to write, and my professor would refer to those as paragraphlets.
I like that. I like that. That's cute. I'm looking her up. Yep. No. She's not cute. That's an editorial comment I regret saying live, but I was hoping she had some kind of redeeming quality for this failure as a writer.
It helps.
Okay. Anyway, we know what happened in the Chauvin case. We probably should just skip those paragraphs instead of aggravating ourselves.
Yeah, what's actually interesting is how they dragged in this other case, and he's just pleading to that along with this. Like, I'm not even sure I don't know. Maybe I'm too inexperienced in the court system, but I don't think I've ever heard of that before, where that you can plead to 2 separate crimes years apart in one plea deal. Is that something that happens?
I actually know of a case going on right now that I can't talk about that, yes, they will do that to you.
Okay. All right.
If they can tie it together somehow, and that's the trick, like, usually it should be two separate cases if they are two separate incidents. So I didn't read the indictment. I don't know what exactly the allegation is, but they had, because it's a civil rights case, I imagine they probably thought that out. The guys at the U.S. District Attorney's Office, they're typically pretty smart. You know, the DOJ doesn't hire dummies. As much as you might dislike them, they're very intelligent. So I'm sure they figured out that nexus there between those cases. Chauvin appeared in person Wednesday, that's today, for the change of plea hearing and wore an orange short-sleeved prison shirt. Thank you for that detail, Amy. Getting a call here. This is super professional. I'm sorry if you can hear me. I'm sorry, but I got to hang up on you in the middle of this show here. 3 other former officers, Thomas Lane, Jay Kung, and Tu Tao, those are clearly white supremacists, were indicted on federal charges alongside Chauvin earlier this year. They are still on course for trial early next year on those charges, with a state trial still to come. Floyd's arrest and death, with a bystander captured on cell phone video, sparked mass protests nationwide calling for an end to racial equality and police mistreatment of black people. It's like going through an obstacle course reading this article, like navigating this woman's sentences. In Minnesota, defendants with good behavior served 2/3 of their sentence in prison, and the remaining 1/3 on supervised release, also known as parole. Under that formula, he's expected to serve 15 years in prison on the state charges and 7.5 years on parole. Under sentencing guidelines, Chauvin could get a federal penalty ranging from 27 years to more than 33 years in prison, with credit for taking responsibility, said Mark Osler, a professor at the University of St. Thomas School of Law. But the guidelines are not mandatory, and Osler estimated Chauvin would be sentenced toward the lower end of the range. I would imagine his attorney is also going to ask for a downward departure from the guidelines.
Oh, he doesn't have an attorney.
What? What do you mean he doesn't have an attorney?
He was denied it. The court denied him an attorney. So the one that he had in the state was that like union lawyer for him. His job is like done. Like he can't work for him anymore. And Chauvin tried to get a public defender and he was denied it.
How could you be denied a public defender? Was Chauvin rich or something?
So we don't have the answer to that, but the speculation is that, yeah, they figured that he had too much money because he still had a retirement fund that he didn't pull money from.
I mean, I'd say this is the time to liquidate that retirement fund. Maybe he has a house that they expect him to sell. I don't know.
As far as we know, he does not have an attorney right now. Like, I haven't seen anything about it.
Oh, my God.
But we know he was denied one. And I'm thinking the fact that he pled guilty to this, I mean, if, maybe a lawyer would tell him to do so, or maybe he would want to. But it,
well, a lot of the times, federal cases come down to the sentencing. Because, I mean, it's not just the show Billions. It's real life. Federal prosecutors don't take things to trial unless they think they've got a slam dunk case. So if they're charging you in federal court, they think they've got you. It's,
I mean, as a rule, but I don't know about in this case because they brought these charges down before the state trial even came. I mean, like it was, or during it was either during or before. So it wasn't concluded when they decided to charge him for this.
Right. Well, my point is that even if it were the case where, a lawyer would have said plead guilty anyway, he doesn't need a lawyer for that. the whole point of having a lawyer in the federal system, not the whole point, but probably 90% of the point of having a lawyer at the federal level is to have them for sentencing. Like this now is the time you want him, especially if you were going to plead guilty anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, the government wasn't going to give you a good plea deal. They were going to give you these guideline, sentences anyway, whatever. But now you absolutely need an attorney to argue why you should be sentenced at the lower end of the guidelines, not the higher, and more importantly, why you should get a downward departure, and you shouldn't be held to those guidelines at all because you've been a cop for 20 years. You've never been arrested in your life. You've been a law-abiding citizen. And, you're sorry for what you did, and you realize, you should have taken jiu-jitsu. And you shouldn't have, held a man like that on the ground and killed him. I don't know. But whatever he's going to say, he needs an attorney for this. This is really bad. I can't believe an attorney hasn't volunteered to take this case.
Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse, he had every attorney there is volunteering.
Yeah, well, as much of a cluster as Chauvin's trial was, and, that he clearly got railroaded at a lot of levels. At the same time, Chauvin is not as sympathetic a defendant as Kyle Rittenhouse.
And it isn't as easy as a case either. I mean, Chauvin,
right.
At the
Floyd wasn't pointing a gun at him. He wasn't hitting Chauvin in the head with a skateboard. Like, it was a very black and white case in Rittenhouse. This one,
I mean, I've heard smart attorneys make the argument Chauvin is guilty of everything. I mean, the argument's there. Yeah, in fact, the Chauvin thing, it more comes down to a lot of facts than it does the law. What killed him, when, was this too slow? That it was very fact dependent. But yeah. But what I find about these federal charges, it's hate crime charges, and I feel like that is something defeatable. Because if he was at all, we know for a fact, Chauvin does not see color. I mean, if he was at all racist at all, it would. Why
do we know that for a fact?
It would came out in the state. It would have came out in the state. I mean,
oh, you mean because it didn't come up in trial?
Yeah,
you can assume he's not a white supremacist.
Yeah, I mean, if there was at all an argument that he held down Floyd because he was racist, because Floyd's black, that would have came out.
That'd have been the first thing out of their mouths.
It was never mentioned.
That's true. EcoFash Matt is asking, what is your professional opinion in regards to Charlottesville appeals or the S-show verdict moving forward? EcoFash Matt, I don't know what the S-show verdict means. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay. As for Charlottesville appeals, I can't give my professional opinion because having been a defendant in the case, I can't really talk about it. Except to say, I hear that everybody did phenomenally well, especially Cantwell. All accounts agree Cantwell owned that trial. And we read one of the raging liberal articles on it. Not that we have any political opinions here at Crime and Punishment. This is a legal podcast, not a political one. We have no political opinions at all. We love Big Brother. But we can recognize that the Daily Beast is a raging liberal outlet, and they were saying that Cantwell hijacked the trial. So that's about all I can say, is reading other people's stuff and not giving my own opinion because I don't want to affect the trial or the appeals.
And it shows that podcasting is a useful skill that Cantwell did so well.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone denies ever that he's a brilliant guy. What is the S show, though, EcoFash Matt? You'll have to tell me what case that is, and maybe I can opine on that. All right. What else do we have here?
Yeah, this 14-year-old. Might as well read what happened there.
Yeah, so
according to the indictment and what Chauvin now
allegedly, yeah.
Well, I mean, he pleaded to it, so it's like essentially part of the agreement.
It's still allegedly to me.
Yeah.
I mean, he pleaded to it.
Objective reality, but when you're pleading to it, you're saying, yeah, I did this happened. Like,
not if you plead no contest.
Yeah.
All right, so that's actually a good point we should explain. You usually have 3 different ways you can plead. 1, not guilty. I think that's what everybody should always plead. Not that I'm giving you legal advice, but if you're not penalized for changing your plea, of course, talk about it with your lawyer, but everybody pleads not guilty. The next one is guilty. People will plead guilty, especially if they have a record or if they actually did it and there's no getting around that fact. You can plead guilty. But the third one is no contest. Now, no contest means you're not admitting that you are guilty. You are simply not contesting the case against you because you believe it is in your best interests. That's no contendere, no contest plea. So it could be that Chauvin pled guilty, and you would think so, actually, because earlier in this article, they said, it's hard to decipher what Amy is saying, but she said something about how he could get the lower end of the guidelines because he admitted guilt, or accepted responsibility, rather. And you typically accept responsibility when you plead guilty, not when you plead no contest. When you plead no contest, you shut up. Usually you don't say anything. All you say is, no, Your Honor, I have nothing to say. No contest. But in this federal case, it sounds like he's pleading guilty. So,
well, he did. It's done. He pleaded guilty.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It says pleaded guilty. Okay. There is no contest. My bad. Okay. Well, now you know for your own edification, dear listener, what the difference between guilty and no contest is. But Chauvin did plead guilty, so there we are. Pleaded guilty to violating the rights of a then 14-year-old boy during a 2017 arrest in which he held the boy by the throat, hit him in the head with a flashlight, and held his knee on the boy's neck and upper back while he was prone, handcuffed, and not resisting. Now, what I find striking about this paragraph is it doesn't say a then 14-year-old black boy. And it doesn't reiterate that Chauvin is white. So this makes me think that this had nothing to do with race. What do you think, Tiger?
Yeah, I mean, we can only speculate.
No.
They are saying that it was a hate crime.
Yeah, so when you look at the link in the Court TV article, it goes to an AP article. Chauvin pleads, blah, blah, blah. This indictment alleges Chauvin deprived the teenager, who is black, of his right to be free of unreasonable force when he held the teen by the throat, hit him in the head with a flashlight, and held his knee on the boy's neck and upper back while he was prone, handcuffed, and not resisting. Well, that solves that mystery. Moving on. Again, Chauvin is not the most sympathetic defendant.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, people lie all the time about cops. Absolutely. That happens. People lie to cops all the time. People lie about cops all the time. Something about cops just makes people lie. It's amazing. So, in any event, Chauvin's just not a sympathetic guy. Still, I would think somebody would volunteer to take this man's case because he's obviously getting railroaded. I'm not doing it. I'll tell you that. But somebody should do it. Which is, I hope my sons are not listening to this because they would call me out for that. Because I rail about that all the time. That whole, somebody should do something about this, but not me. Yeah. In this case, I'm not licensed there. I'm not waving in there. I'm across the country. But somebody over there should do this for free. Floyd's arrest and death, which a bystander captured on cell phone video. Oh, nope. I already read that part, I feel like. Did she really just repeat the same... She did! She did. She took Floyd's arrest and death, which a bystander captured on cell phone video, sparked mass protests, blah, 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 blah. She repeated that paragraph later on in the article. I can't deal with this lady.
You gotta get the article out now.
Just copy and paste the same paragraph like 2 or 3 times. No one's even going to notice. Amy Forlidi.
Just reads the headlines.
Holy smoke. Yeah, you just read the headlines, say it's a 600-word article. Boom. Get it out. Get it to press. Holy smokes. Okay, anyway, let's move on. We've got like half an hour.
Yes.
All right, so we've got the behind the Arbery trial, the long road to finding a prosecutor. Also, insurer agrees to $800 million settlement in Boy Scouts bankruptcy. I don't even want to talk about that. That's too big a subject. What was the last thing? Citizen's arrest and natural law.
Yeah.
All right. You have notes on that? I did not.
I do
receive those notes to review before the show. But
it's my own writings. You know, I have like all these pages and pages full of notes for articles and books that'll never happen.
I've got plenty of those myself, as a matter of fact. Before we start on that, let me get back to what EcoFash Matt was saying about the S show. He was keeping it family friendly.
I suspected that.
Yeah, I didn't. I should have caught that. But
I wasn't sure.
He was talking about the Charlottesville show,
yeah.
With regards to the judge and his positions and instructions to the jury. The judge having an Antifa clerk. Yep, that's infamous. Not that we care about politics, but you would think the judge in a political trial would care about politics. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what he was talking about. Have you ever looked... I can't pronounce that name, but have you ever looked into the Bill White case? Bill White is a white nationalist, appropriate name then, who was railroaded into prison years ago. He supposedly helped Cantwell with his case. No, Bill White, his judge stated, and I quote, "It is clear there was no intent from Mr. White for any acts of violence be done against the defendant. However, due to the inherent violent nature of his audience, any disparaging words said against another is equivalent to a call for violence." No. All right. I don't know if you can hear me scribbling, but I am writing this down right now. I'm going to look this up. Bill White case. If you have the state or case number, I don't know if it was federal or what, but if you could put in the comments there how I can find that case, please let me know. And we'll talk about it. All right. Let's see. Did you see the video of the cop doing private security that shot a guy in a wheelchair 9 times in the back for shoplifting and holding a knife?
Nice.
What? No. Where? When did that happen? This can't be real. Well, I guess this is America now. All right, you know what? I'm just going to copy and paste that into the Google machine. Let's see what we get back. It's got to bring up something good, right? Video shows Arizona cop fatally shooting man in wheelchair 9 times from behind.
Did wheelchair guy at least have a gun?
No, he apparently had a knife, and he shot him from behind.
All right.
All right.
What state was this?
Arizona.
Arizona.
Not like it matters anymore.
I was hearing some things lately that part of the reason for these kind of things, there's absolutely no... I can't think of a good excuse for doing that. But that there's a lot high turnover in police departments in some states and cities now. And so it's like it's this continual stream of brand new police officers. So like in the Chauvin thing, Chauvin was the only experienced cop right in that thing. And then I'm trying to think what a high profile case.
All those rookie cases. He led all those rookie cops into white supremacy.
Yeah.
The evil of Derek Chauvin.
Kim Potter, it was like one of her first times actually out on patrol.
Is that the taser?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Man.
That's what came out. It's like you just have all these brand new hordes of brand new police officers and just like
they're cowards. They're absolute cowards, man. Like
true too.
You see these videos and they're just so jacked with adrenaline. I'll tell you, because this is whatever, when I was arrested and I was extradited to South Carolina, and I hope he hears this because he knows. I was extradited up there and they held me at the Rock Hill Police Department overnight. And right before I was dragged out into that circus that was on TV, the detective came in to my jail. So I was kept in isolation. He came to get me, and it was to question me. Like, what kind of idiot thinks that he's going to take a lawyer out of an isolation cell and interrogate him? Like, how did you think that was going to go, first of all? But he takes me out, and this fool is so scared to death of me that his voice is shaking. He dropped the handcuff keys. And this guy, he's been on the Rock Hill Police Department for a long time. Like, he's younger than me. Like, I call everybody kid, but he's younger than me, but he's a grown man. And he's an absolute coward. And all these cops that you see on these shows, and not shows, but, YouTube videos or body cams, they're pulling their gun out on somebody, and a black dude driving, and you can be as white nationalist as you want. You can be as actual racist as you want. The fact is, cops pull guns on black people. They pull guns on lots of people.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It happens. White cops can be scared of black people driving. That happens. That's a fact. White cops can be cowards. And they pull out their gun, and their voice is shaking, and their gun is shaking, they're tremoring, and the dude is like, he's screaming at the black guy, "Get your wallet out." And he's like, all right, I'm getting my wallet out. And he goes slowly reaching for his wallet, and the cop unloads his magazine at him. You told him to get the wallet, and you are such a coward. You are so terrified. You unload the magazine when he goes to get the wallet, and the guy's dead. That video alone, and then comes Taser Woman. And while we were talking, Tiger, I looked up the video. I saw the video. This guy just walks up behind the guy in a wheelchair and just blows him away from behind. Guy falls forward out of his wheelchair. And the still from the security footage here shows the cop walking up and grabbing his wrist like he's arresting the guy. The dead dude on the ground. Amazing. I don't care if you're a rookie or if you've been on the force for 20 years. This is just out of control, man. And they get away with it every time.
One of the few movies that I have watched, the story reminds me of this movie about Wild Bill Hickok. And there's a guy in a wheelchair who challenges Hickok to a duel. And Hickok, he ties himself up to a chair and has people carry him out there so that it'd be a fair fight. Hickok was no coward.
Nice. Very nice. They don't make them like they used to.
Yeah.
So, yes, now, Chase, we have seen that video. That's crazy. Let's see. Freedom Falcon. Hey, Freedom Falcon is back. Hey, been a long time. Chase and Freedom Falcon. The whole gang's here. Not a real gang. Just to disclaim, right. We have no association with any criminal elements. We have no political affiliations, no political ideology. We are simply a legal podcast discussing legal news. Anyway, Freedom Falcon says, Augustus, I asked for Cato Law on his stream if he would have you on his show. He said he was not opposed.
Interesting.
Really? That is interesting. Where does he live? He's in Michigan?
He's in Minnesota.
Minnesota. I knew it was one of those MI states.
Yeah.
Minnesota. Yeah, I'm not going out there. But I was gonna say I'll drop in on him, but
Well,
yeah, I'm
well,
not.
I mean, he does. If you go on his show, I mean, just like we're doing here, Skype or whatever.
Yes, but as a salesman and businessman, I find that people are more apt to deal with you when you're in person.
Maybe.
I'm an in-person handshake kind of businessman. I don't like doing things online. This podcast
I encourage
notwithstanding.
you to do it. I encourage you to do it.
To go to Minnesota?
No. I mean, go on the stream. I'd encourage it.
I tell you what,
It's a
fundraising
huge
drive.
Channel. It's a huge channel.
We'll start a fundraising drive on Crime and Punishment right now. We got to get like super chats up, and then we'll say fund my trip to Minnesota so I can show up at Ricada's house and go on his program.
Hey.
Well, we're gonna start this Friday afternoons podcast thing starting the 31st. So at that point, we could start these super chats. Why don't we have super chats already?
Crazy.
We should have them up. I don't know why I haven't done that. Anyway, we've got 15 minutes left. We still got to talk about the Arbery trial, prosecutor, and natural law and citizens arrest. So let's talk about the latter first. Because you've got notes. You want to talk about it. You're gunning to talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. All right. So what sparked my little investigation into this was I was going through the Georgia Code, and there's a nice big redacted section where there used to be a citizen's arrest law. It is completely removed from the Georgia statute. So there is, and not in its place, because like you're going through the code on Fast Case or Wessel, it's gone. But they did add a new law which it states that the only people who have citizen's arrest powers are shopkeepers and the like, business owners and people.
That's the new law?
Yes.
Huh.
So, I thought to myself, like, police, they are not, like, whenever you read code, the law and stuff about police arrest powers, like, I don't know, just something about the wording of the law, it's pretty clear that usually they are not the only people who can arrest people. Rather, the law just expands the police's arrest powers and grants them immunities and things like that for normal people can arrest people. And why is that? So I did a little look into it, and it turns out that arrest is in the natural law tradition, including St. Thomas Aquinas.
Interesting.
Makes mention of it. He writes about it, saying that he first goes to Leviticus chapter 24.
All right.
Where there is a man that was arrested for blasphemy. And obviously the ancient Israelites didn't have a police force. Rather, it was a bunch of people. They go and grab him.
The sheriff's posse. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. They go and grab him, and they imprison him for a time and before taking him to the courts. So,
Levi, Mordecai, I need you to come help me.
Yeah, a bunch of...
The rest of these uppity Aaron boys.
Yeah, they grabbed their rifles and gone to pick up trucks and chased after him.
Yeah,
but,
so Aquinas is saying that there is a natural law right for anyone, any man, to arrest any other man if he has broken the law.
Yeah, I'm trying to find his exact wordings. I'm going through it. You know, the way Aquinas likes to write is objection, objection, objection. On the contrary, I answer that.
Yeah, it's like modern philosophy papers.
Yeah. So let me see where it is. All right.
So that's one of the biggest lackings in legal education today. You don't even learn anything like natural law.
No, you don't. They think it's just gone. I mean, as I said before, the only time I heard of it was a brief mention in a civil procedure course. It made mention of it and was just like, but nobody actually believes this anymore. And they had a terrible way of describing it, like it was platonic forms or something. It's just like, it's not even it at all. It's really weird. Whoever wrote that didn't even know what natural law was.
Yeah, now everything is positivism. Everything is
Yeah.
Herbie Hart and Dworkin and all these people. It's terrible.
Yeah. So I want to describe. I want to say how Aquinas describes the arrest powers.
Please do.
Also, first, a clarification: the way that he views natural law, the way that he views it. So he doesn't call it natural law. Rather, he says that there's an eternal law, which is God's laws governing the universe. And then it branches down into natural law and divine law. Divine law is God's both natural and divine are part of God's eternal law. Divine law is where God spells it out for us in the Bible. And then natural law is what we find either through nature or pondering man in a state of nature and things like that, what we can come to through natural revelation. So that is why he would point to Leviticus for this. He would say, this is God showing us part of his eternal law.
So what was the law that they broke in Leviticus where all these guys went blasphemy? That's right.
Yeah. So, but Aquinas, he says, it is lawful for anyone to restrain a man. So make clear, lawful for anyone to restrain a man for a time from doing some unlawful deed there and then, as when a man prevents another from throwing himself over a precipice or from striking another.
I don't know. Is that legal today? Like, if somebody's going to throw himself off a building, if we got a jumper, can you reach out and grab that guy and prevent him from jumping, or would that be a battery?
The way that I was taught about it is that whenever, like, if you had some prosecutor, like, you know, they can go and call it that. But typically, if you're trying to save somebody from themselves, like that's your defense, but you also have the duty to actually save them. So if you're trying to save this guy and instead you push him off the cliff by accident, you're on the hook.
Yeah, well, that's why you watch somebody drowning and people just let them drown because they know that. But there are states that have passed Good Samaritan laws.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Those are good. If you are genuinely trying to help someone, people get sued all the time for trying to help somebody, and something goes wrong, and they blame the guy who tried to help the guy. So states got tired of that. Everybody got tired of that, started passing Good Samaritan laws so that if you help someone, you're not going to be held liable for it. So we don't know what state you live in, dear listener, so make sure you look that up before you depend on that. This is not legal advice. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
So he goes on, but to him alone who has the right of disposing in general of the actions and of the life of another, does it belong primarily to imprison or fetter, because by doing so he hinders him from doing not only evil but also good deeds. So Aquinas is saying the ultimate arrest and punishment is up to the authorities. that's in accordance with citizens' arrest laws. You may arrest someone in the act of breaking the law, but the punishment goes to the courts. So that's something I want to make clear. He isn't saying, like, go and beat the guy to a pulp or something. It's how you would typically read a citizen's arrest law, where it's like you're just holding him there for the authorities. And Aquinas, he is making it clear that this is use preventing an evil act. Like that's its whole purpose. And in Georgia's new law, they're only saying, like, they put down their typical legal disclaimer that you see at the end of the law of laws, where it says nothing in this shall be read to do this or that. In this one, it's saying nothing in this law should be read to essentially infringe on Georgia's self-defense and defense of others statutes. Citizens' arrest is not always those two.
Right. Because citizens' arrest could be you see someone commit a felony.
Yeah.
It could be a victimless crime. It could be grand theft. It could be somebody stealing a car. You're not defending another person when you see them stealing that guy's car. You're defending the car. You're defending the property.
Yeah.
So if that's a felony, and in a state with citizens' arrest laws, you see somebody committing a felony, you can stop them for the police, you arrest them, and you wait for the cops to get there. That doesn't apply in Georgia, it sounds like, where it has to be defense of others or self-defense. That's not a citizen's arrest. That's self-defense or defense of others. That's completely different.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Well, Ulfric Dorensen is saying, "Howdy, Augustus. I love to see how the show's taken off." Well, thank you. Yes, it's been a very, very exceedingly good year this year. Given your interest in natural law, excuse me, the chat just reloaded. Given your interest in natural law, would you consider coming on a podcast pertaining to that and discussing it? Well, you got a spot for me and Tiger. Put a link to it in here, and if you don't want to put it in the chat, you can always email me. Oh, I'm not signed into YouTube. You can use my law firm address. It's invictuspa@protonmail.com. If you want to send me a link, I will check out the podcast. We'll check it out. And don't send me attachments. I'm not going to open an attachment. Come on now. Oh, hey, the Falcon put in the case number for the Bill White case. Look at that.
There you go.
Court of Appeals 7th Circuit case. All right. I'm assuming that means federal 7th Circuit, right? 7th Circuit Appeals. White v... Is the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals one of the parties? That can't be. All right, well, we'll find it. That should be enough to find it on. All right, well, we are at the end of the hour. What else do we have? We've got this very long article about picking the prosecutor in the Arbery trial.
No, I didn't even read that.
Yeah, we don't have time for that now.
I sent that to you so I can find it later to read it before it gets buried in my email.
All right, well, there's always next week. No, there is not next week. Next week is Christmas.
Yes.
We won't be here. So, don't look out for this podcast. Go watch the Santa Claus with your children. And we will see you back on December 31st, Voldemort's birthday. Also happens to be New Year's Eve. All right, well, that being said, please send me the link to that podcast. Let's find out how to get on Nick Rekieta. Let's do the fundraisers so I can fly out to Minnesota. And you guys all have a Merry Christmas. And, stay in school. Learn how to fight. Get rich. And don't do politics. It's really bad for your health. Big Brother doesn't like it. And we will see you all on New Year's Eve for Voldemort's birthday. Until then, everybody.